Guys, welcome back to Spank Ranch Garage. It's another month later, and last episode this dozer was running great and we lost our steering brake on the right side here, and it happened very abruptly. It wasn't like it was working and then it started to diminish throughout the job. It just quit. I did a push, it was fine. Push again, I got no brake. So let's dig into it. Being that it just took a dump and didn't like wear out, I think I need to look. I was just, people are saying just adjust it. I don't think it's going to be an adjustment issue. We're going to pull the top cover off first, have a look in there, see if it looks like anything came apart. We can also pull this cover and have a look. And then if things really are looking bad, we'll pull this whole top housing off, take a look down in the clutch housing. But hopefully it's something easy, but knowing me, it's gonna be a catastrophe. So let's get right in and see what we got. Okay. Don't see anything wrong yet. Fundamentally, everything's working as it should. I don't see any red flags yet. All right, we're in here with the bore scope. That's your main brake band adjustment there. Here is one of the actuation pins and another one. They all look good. I was hoping a pin fell out, but it's not going to be that easy. That pin's still in. That pin's good. We creep around the corner here. There's a spring on top of the band. That looks good. A little moist, but I probably put it in that way. Not what I was hoping to see. I was hoping to see something obvious here. This bolt's still in. Right, the mounting bolt's still there. There's another one down further. And of course, 2 seconds after I get working, it's now dumping rain. So that's just how life is. Can't control it. You can see the bottom of the brake band. What I'm looking for is, did the lining come out of it? See the clutch throwout bearing, it all looks good. All right, well, I guess we're on rain delay, 5 minutes into the job. Time to head inside and grab a cold soda, and we will resume this as soon as it clears up. Could this be as simple as an adjustment issue? I'm not buying that, because that seems too good to be true for me. Like, how could it come? Yeah, this thing's so loose. I feel like the band is broken on the bottom side. How could that happen? Yeah, this whole thing's just flopping around. Can the band really be that sloppy? Though I do feel the spring pulling against it on the other side. The blower spring. Alright, so I was laying under the machine looking at an angle through that drain port in the clutch housing, and I could see like a 1/4 inch gap between the bottom of the band and the drum that it grabs. So something ripped apart or stretched. Thinking broke apart. I'm really thinking it needs a brake band at this point. I don't know how this happened. The lining is still riveted to the band. I can see that. But it's screwed up. I don't know. And this is going to be a doozer of a job to do out here in the woods. So I confirmed the brake band is not even in the picture. I can fit the whole camera of the bore scope between the band and the drum, and that should be almost touching, especially with the parking brake on and readjusting it. So something catastrophic happened to the brake band. I have no idea. Could be because I installed it and I did something wrong, or it just broke from old age, but now we got to get into it. We're going to start small here. I'm going to try, well, I know I've done it on the other side, is to remove the upper clutch housing cover here without pulling the box. which means I can leave the hoses and the hydraulic fluid in it. I don't have equipment with me to pump this out or even drain it right now, so I'd have to come back and do that next time I'm here, if we have to take this box off. I hope not, because there is nothing here to, you know, put a hoist on or anything to lift this off. So I'm hoping I can just jack this up a little bit, take the tank and the seat with it, kind of tilt it up, slip this clutch housing cover out, and then potentially access the band from the top. Be able to determine what happened. Whether we can fix it from this vantage point, I don't know. But some of these bolts are gonna be tricky to get to. Wrench only. Welcome to West Virginia, where it's sunny and hot as hell, and it was raining 5 minutes ago. All right, so in the meantime, I got the bolts out of the clutch cover painstakingly. I couldn't get into the back because I built this bash bar. I won't let this cover come out. I don't have sockets with me to get this thing off. So this is the clutch cover here. I'm gonna jack up the hydraulic tank on that side, see if we can wiggle this thing out. But before I can do that, I gotta get this spring out of there. Anyway, this spring's gonna be tough. I might have to move you guys out of here. I need a little more space. I didn't get that spring off, but the thought is if I can jack everything up and get it out of my way a little bit, then I can kick this housing forward, pull the tension off the spring, and then hopefully get the deal with it. This thing's hard to do without the hydraulic tank in place, so. I actually broke the spring. Cool. No problem. Guys, always trust your suspicion. This brake band is broken. This is definitely going to fly down into the case. Yep, gone. See ya. Nice knowing you. I'm gonna push this in as far as I can, see if there's enough room to get the band out. Fishing the second piece out now. And there's no frickin' pin in it. So the band looks fine, just like it did when I put it in. Where the hell is the pin? What was supposed to retain it? How did this happen? I don't even see a pin laying down there. This is crazy. Well guys, this is a weird one. The pin that connects the bands is gone. And like nothing's tweaked. Like the thing is, like a pin just doesn't fall out typically. I mean, it'll work its way out. And then you'd expect that one side of this would, you know, start to peel like this, and the brake would start to feel weird and whatever. This thing operated fine, and then it didn't. There was no warning. I also never had this brake band apart. I pulled it out, replaced it, cleaned it up, you know, put it back in, but I never had this pin out. So nothing more I could do here today. I don't even have a magnet with me to grab stuff out of the clutch housing. I'm gonna go home, do some research on this, see if I can even change this band with the clutch in there. I think it might be possible. It's gonna be definitely some tomfoolery and some fishing around to get this thing weaved in there, get the bolt started, get the pin through. This bottom spring pretty much isn't gonna happen, and I'll just use it as a top spring, I guess. Top spring's more important anyway, gravity, that kind of thing. What the heck? I just can't get ahead on this dozer. It's just non-stop BS, but my hope is after, you know, while these problems work themselves out, this thing will just be reliable for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully, but time will tell. I'm gonna finger tight all this back together, and we will be back in a couple weeks, 2 weeks to a month. We'll be back to take care of this, hopefully. Well guys, it's Labor Day weekend, and we just got a ton of rain, so I got a plywood boardwalk here to the dozer because this clay is absolutely insane. It's either concrete or it's just straight muck. So that's challenging some things, but anyway, I got 1 day to hit this before the rain comes again and rains us out, so I want to get this brake band fixed. It's also going to be 91 degrees today, so hydration is extremely important. Tell you what, the fact that this is all over probably a broken cotter pin is just the lamest, stupidest thing ever. Oh, not bad. Oh, we're overflowing the funnel. Great. Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. There's the environmental disaster we're all waiting for. You knew it was coming. Alright. So my thought is, if I use some wood and a ladder, I can create like a gantry that I can then winch this box up and swing it out of my way so I can get to this brake band. Got the crane set up with the cross member here, the pine wood cross member. Got the load rated ratchet strap. I'll put some tension on this. We'll drop it off the tank here, and then we'll see if we can float this box, tilt it, get the lines out from under this foot plate, because even pulling the bolts out, this thing doesn't come out. It's such a pain in the ass. Tilt this a little, get the hoses out, and then hopefully swing this over towards the ladder. Then I can hit this thing from the back, get pretty decent access to the steering clutch compartment, and hopefully get my work done. Got the shim blocks under here, so that's all super sound, safe, and we'll just have to try it. Alright, I missed anything. This box is floating, and that's good news. And it's not necessarily that this box is heavy. It's probably 200 pounds. You could wrestle this into position if you had to. It's the fact that I'm trying to save time and not disassemble, you know, all these extra hydraulic hoses, make more of a mess than I already have. Hopefully keep everything intact and just kind of swing this thing out of the way. Pull this back a little bit more. I have 6 hoses out. Alright, so now we can kind of see the top of the steering clutch housing. So we can slide our housing back out. And now we have what I believe will be decent enough access to take care of this job. I'm not proud of how this is going, but it is what it is. I'm going to pull the entire steering and clutch shaft out. I'm not sure if it's required, but it will make fishing through here a little easier. Just like that, all that clutch adjustment you worked so hard for is gone. Now I should be able to fold this arm back and get on this part with a 9/16. I'm literally using like the cheapest dollar store tools on this job, other than my impact and a couple of the sockets I brought. But I just want to show that you don't have to have anything fancy to work on these machines. It is hard work, but it's not, I guess it's not tool intensive. I mean, having a crane would be sweet, having a hoist, even just working in a driveway, set it in the woods, but the American way is just get her done. Now let's see if we can slip this linkage off. Now I already had this apart a couple months ago, so that just came off really nice. I don't think that's typical. I had to really work this thing the first time. Now we can begin to tap this shaft and hopefully pop this cap out. Like like that. There's an order to the operation here. So if we tap this shaft through like that, and then we send this part back, we got to expose the keyways. Well, I'm seeing a problem already. There's supposed to be a clamp bolt in here and there's not. So that's funny. Now that was probably legitimately my mistake assembling this. I will take full credit for that one. Key's coming out on its own. I'll take it. Essentially the task here is to do all this all in order to get all the keyways out so you can get the shaft out. And they all come out in a little different way. So now that we have the end keyway out, we can slide this over, hopefully, and expose this keyway here. Something like that, and then you can slide the shaft through, right? So now there's just enough room to get that keyway out, and I had these out, so these will come out. These can be really tricky when they haven't been touched in a while. A slide hammer with vice grips is the way. Clutch shaft out. Good. And get our clutch actuator arm out. Okay. Drop this, pull this, and this whole assembly should lift out. Fantastic. So now it's pretty much just the brake bracket, the steering clutch, and the flag and the throwout bearing. It all still looks really good. So now we can go fishing with a magnet and see what we find down here. Guys, this is so exciting. What are we gonna find? All right, so this washer I know was in there because I dropped that in there, pulling the brake band out. Let's go to the front of the clutch housing, see if we get any activity up here. Ooh, I see something big. I see the pin for the brake band, I'm pretty sure. Maybe that'll be a clue about how this happened. If that's in one piece, I think the cotter pin like rotted out. Look at that, it's got circlips on it. And there's one gone. I never touched this. I never pulled this part out of the band. I burned on that, but anyway, that's the root cause of why we're here. This pin fell totally out of the band, which it's wildly unfortunate because it means that the left side pin came out. Like look at this clearance here, right? If this snap ring came off, this pin could never work its way out. It would hit the clutch housing here. But of course, knowing my luck, the right side one somehow came off, and this thing migrated all the way out, cleared everything, and just fell out. And I had brakes one push, and I didn't have it the next. I mean, you just can't make this crap up. The positive here is, you know, I did all this work on this thing, so I wouldn't have to work on it in the woods down here. Is at least I know how it works and how to work on it. Because if this was my first time, being in a clutch housing out here in the woods with minimum tools, I'd be very concerned. But here, I'm confident I understand how it's supposed to work at least. So I have a leg up on, you know, my previous self at least. But all right, so I ordered a new brake band. This was before I even knew what happened. I ordered a new brake band from, I think it's steeringclutches.com or whatever. They seem to be pretty highly regarded for this old equipment. This is a new band with new linings that is riveted, and there's a lot of meat on here. So these are way healthier than what I took off, but what I took off wasn't in bad shape either. It's interesting, this comes with a pin to bind these together, but it's just a cotter in it. So it's not a double snap ring like what I had in there before. Now, knowing what I know, we're going to set the direction of this, so if that pin were to rot out in the future or whatever, we will set it so the pin cannot physically fall out. It'll just touch the clutch housing, which is no problem. So lessons learned, you don't learn until you get burned. I think that's the motto of my life with all this crap. Now these new bands are pretty nice. They're actually like serrated, and this clutch material is rated to operate in oil as well. So even though it's a B model with dry clutches, if it does become contaminated, these will still grab, which is a nice feature over the factory ones. Hopefully they last. Really, to fix this correctly, it was like $8 in parts. With this tank mount still here, all right, looks like we'll be able to fish it. Yep. So I just went in backwards, don't do that. get this pin through from this side. That way, if that cotter pin rots out 10 years from now, this thing can't actually come out. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't care. Don't want to do this again. There we go. Good. Alright, so we can kind of feed this around. Nice. And this has to come up between here. Like that. Sweet. Now getting that to start is going to be fun. Alright, that bolt's started now, so we're tied to the back side of the band. The easiest way to do that is to actually twist the whole assembly around like this. Thread it in where you can see it, and then stuff her back down the hole. So now we got to get through the band and the bracket. Nice, that went pretty easy. I got this big ass washer, which is overkill, and then I got a C-clip that fits in a nice deep groove and is good. Whether that's OEM or not, I don't know, but this isn't what popped apart, so let's not overthink it. There we go. I think brake linkages here hook up, and this is pulling in the right direction. All right, I'm happy with that. And this goes this way because this bolt here is what actuates the actual brake when that swings through. So we can slide that through. And then we get back to the keyway shuffle here. One of the two. Nice. And that'll bottom out. And then when you're pulling the clutch, once the clutch is happy, then yeah, it'll grab the brake band and flip that forward as well. Now we can start to ride this thing over. And then flip it, because it's got to get under your arm. It's kind of like quite a shuffle here. And then, yeah, when that lines up like that, it's got to make you happy a little bit. Before we get carried away with that, we'll carefully wrench down this 9/16 here to lock it to the shaft. Slide that pin through. All right, that bad boy's in and hooked up. Conical spacers are important. So it is all a pivot point. I have a pretty good feel where that needs to be set to, just by feeling the backlash and the throwout bearing. But if you're doing this, maybe follow the John Deere service manual. Parking brake pin, easy enough. All right, we're all together in here. The plug's back in, everything's tight, locked, pinned. We got the upper return spring on. We'll have to get fishing on that once we get the top cover in position. I think I'll put my jack under the tank, or maybe a big pry bar or something, get this tank tilted up, give us some room to work. And I think we're ready to start going back together on the old turd smuggler. I don't think you need to do this, but the more water, moisture, and crap you can keep out of your dry clutches, the better. Now, for me, I take mine apart like every 6 hours, so I never have any problems with anything rusting up. But, you know, I'm always looking forward to the future where maybe I can leave this together for several hundred hours without service, and then I will appreciate having a sealed clutch housing. But otherwise, just a waste of RTV. Now we got to stretch this thing down to fit in the brake band. And it's just such a freaking pain. I'll tell you, I really think there's probably a lot of John Deere 450s rolling around that don't have these springs installed and everything's fine. But I'm here, I bought them. I got to deal with them, just freaking sucks. Alright, let's slide this cover forward now. But not too much, you got to be able to see what you're doing. I got the damn spring on. I had to turn the eyelet so it lined up about this way. I got the cover spun way over. Started the spring on the brake band from the top down. I'm just filming this so I remember at this point because I am not doing that again. That was so annoying. Probably got over an hour into it. We're there. Hope that spring's happy after all that. The other thing that's cool is I got my second helper here holding up the fuel tank, and that helped me a lot. So I could slide the cover in instead of dealing with that thing. And that's my second helper right there. It's just a floor jack and a 2x4, and it's just balancing the old lever action because there's nobody else out here to help me. And there's a storm coming, so that's really exciting as well. Just praying that my helper doesn't let the tank down on my hand. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm pretty deep in this. I don't need a spontaneous hurricane right now, but it's just how the mountains are. All right, let's throw this thing back together. We're pretty well ready to pump the fluid back in. What is that thing coming through? What the? Oh, look at that, the sun's setting. Well, anyway, guys, we're ready to start wrapping up the little things on this. So I got to put the plug and the adjustment plate back on the side of the clutch housing. I got to hook up the dozer lines to the left side. The main and the return are hooked up. A couple bolts to tighten, and then we're ready to put fluid back in it, test it out, go for a drive. My garden hose keeps collapsing, which is adding complications. right, guys, we will wrap that up there. I'll say once again the dozer is fixed, but will it last? I don't know. Are these growing pains? Are these common things? Who really knows? But anyway, it does steer left and right really nice again. Feels good. It's getting dark, but you saw me build this little section of road here next to the house a couple episodes ago. And now we're gonna pull this through up into the woods here and shoot up along the mountain ridge, down, and then I got a road way down there we gotta connect to. Stay tuned on Spank Ranch Garage. We got another machine coming very soon. It's gonna be hopefully not as much of a project as this one, but it's gonna be way uglier, potentially. So that'll be coming out in the next couple weeks. Anyway, let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I'll see you next time on Spank Ranch Garage.